Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at irrationality
Yeah.
and how much power it really has over the decisions that we make.
That's good.
We've got some excerpts here from this really interesting book, and it digs into this whole idea of the law of irrationality. You might be surprised how much your emotions can be affecting you,
Oh, yeah.
even the subtle ones,
Yeah, for sure.
all the choices that we make.
I mean, it is a little unsettling when you think about it. Like, we like to think that we're rational,
Yeah.
weighing the pros and cons. But the reality is our emotions are always kind of there in the background,
Yeah.
pulling strings and influencing us. And we don't even really realize it a lot of the time.
It's true. This book uses this really cool historical example to kind of kick things off. It's the story of Pericles and the fall of Athenian democracy.
Wow.
So if you think about it, if irrationality could take down a civilization that was as advanced as ancient Athens,
Wow.
I mean, what chance do we have in our modern world?
Yeah, it's true. It makes you think. It is a cautionary tale. Pericles was the leader of Athens
Yeah.
back during their golden age.
Yeah.
And he was really well known for his rationality.
He was like the ultimate
Yeah.
level-headed leader, like just such an anomaly in politics.
You could say he was kind of like a master chess player,
Yeah.
always thinking, a few steps ahead,
Yeah.
thinking long term,
Right.
not short term.
Always prioritizing the greater good.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did it all go wrong?
Well,
How did Athens go from this pinnacle of reason and prosperity to ruins?
that's where the irrationality comes in. After Pericles died, Athens launched this thing called the Sicilian Expedition. It was this
Yeah.
military campaign that was completely fueled by greed and overconfidence. They really underestimated their enemy, and they ended up getting crushed.
Oh,
It
wow.
was a huge turning point and really marked the beginning of their decline.
It's just amazing how all those decisions that seemed so rational at the time
Yeah.
that were driven by these things like ambition and this desire for wealth and power could lead to such disastrous consequences. It really makes you see how powerful our emotions are
Absolutely.
and potentially dangerous.
It really drives home the book's core argument. We think we're making rational decisions,
Yeah.
but our emotions are these kind of like puppet masters in the background,
Yeah.
pulling strings and influencing our decisions,
Yeah.
leading us down all these paths we wouldn't choose if we were truly thinking clearly.
Yeah. It's like our emotions.
Like take the 2008 financial crisis.
Okay.
All those people, millions of people, many who were highly educated and financially savvy, they made these investment decisions. That seemed totally rational at the time.
Yeah.
But in hindsight,
Mhm.
it's clear that their emotions were driving them. Things like greed, unfounded optimism, all played a part.
Yeah, it's kind of like those optical illusions where
Yeah.
your brain tricks you into seeing something that isn't real.
Uh-huh.
But in this case, our emotions are the ones creating the illusion that we're being rational.
Exactly.
So how does this actually work in our brains?
So the book breaks it down
Yeah.
into these three key parts.
Okay.
The reptilian brain, our primal instincts, the limbic brain, the seat of our emotions, and the neocortex,
Yeah.
which is responsible for our higher level thinking.
Okay.
So emotions, they originate in the limbic brain.
Yeah.
And that's where the disconnect is.
There's this gap
There's this gap.
between us feeling the emotion and then our ability to actually understand it and
Yeah.
interpret it rationally.
Exactly.
It's like our emotion.
It's like they're speaking a different language
Yeah.
than our rational mind.
Yeah, and then that leads us to misunderstand our emotions.
It leads to misinterpreting them.
Totally. Like maybe we mistake anger for envy. Or we
Right.
project past hurts to a current situation.
It's like looking through a distorted lens, and we don't even realize it.
And then on top of that, it's hard to learn from these
hard to learn.
emotional reactions because we don't always have access to the root cause.
It's like we make the same mistakes again and again,
Yeah.
but we can't figure out why.
That's where they introduce this idea.
That's where the book's concept of two levels of irrationality
Mm-hmm.
comes into play.
Okay.
They say there's low-grade irrationality, which is like these subtle biases that affect our everyday decisions
Okay.
without us even really being aware of it.
Can you give me an example of something that would be low-grade irrationality?
Think of confirmation bias. It's that tendency to look for information that confirms what we already think.
So you're saying if you're thinking about buying a new tech gadget,
Uh-huh.
you're already pretty sure it's a good idea.
Right.
So then you go online and read the reviews. But you kind of gravitate toward the positive ones,
Exactly.
the ones that back up how excited you already are about this gadget.
You might even dismiss the negative reviews
Mm-hmm.
or downplay them.
Yeah.
Tell yourself they just don't get it.
Yeah. I've done that.
We all have.
It's so true. Our brains are looking for evidence to back up what we already believe, even if it's not totally accurate.
And then you've got conviction bias,
Hmm.
where we mix up how intensely we believe something with whether it's actually true.
Right. So passion doesn't equal facts.
Exactly.
That makes me think of like those arguments online, where the louder someone gets and the more passionate they seem, the less likely they are to consider the other side.
They're so convinced they're right
Yeah.
that they can't even see anything else.
Yeah.
And then, kind of along the lines of blind spots, we've got appearance bias.
Oh, appearance bias. That's where we judge people,
Yeah.
like right away, just based on how they look,
Precisely.
their clothes, their hair, body language.
Exactly.
And we create these whole stories in our heads based on like almost no information.
Very limited information. And they can be really inaccurate.
So we're trying to be more rational.
We are. And that means we got to recognize these biases, question
Yeah.
our assumption.
It's like we need to hit the pause button
Yes.
on those snap judgments and remind ourselves that we don't have the full picture.
It takes a lot of work
It does.
to overcome those thought patterns.
Yeah.
And then there's another bias. This one's super relevant today. It's called group bias. As humans, we want to belong. We want to feel like we're part of a group.
It's like those experiments where
Yeah.
people go along with the group. Even when they know it's wrong,
Yeah.
the pressure to fit in is so powerful.
It's super strong.
Yeah, and this ties into...
Let's dive back into that.
Mm.
High-grade irrationality
Okay.
we were talking about earlier. Specifically, the group effect. When you're part of a crowd, your critical thinking can totally disappear
Yeah.
because of the collective emotional wave.
It's like your rational brain is taking a back seat
Yeah.
to the energy of the group.
Exactly.
Whether it's at a concert, a sporting event, even a protest, you just get caught up.
And that's where those really charismatic leaders can be dangerous. The demagogues, they know how to use that.
Take advantage of it. They
Yeah.
exploit it.
They exploit it.
With all that emotionally charged language and imagery.
They go right around our rational filters.
Yeah. It's like they appeal to our deepest fears
Totally.
and desires, like the need to belong, security, but they don't offer any real solutions or address the complexity of the issues.
And then we've got another low-grade bias. That can be really tough to deal with.
Okay, what's that?
Blame bias.
Oh, yeah.
The one where it's easier to blame other people
For our own mistakes.
than to take responsibility for what we did.
Yeah, it's way easier
Yeah.
to point the finger outwards.
It's a defense mechanism. Our egos are wired to protect us from those feelings of guilt and shame.
Right. But it keeps us from learning and growing
It does.
from our mistakes. So instead of asking, whose fault is this?
Yeah.
We should be asking, what can I learn from this?
Exactly.
How can I do better next time?
Yes.
It takes courage and honesty.
It does.
Yeah.
And finally, we've got the superiority bias.
Okay.
This one can be really sneaky because it often operates unconsciously.
Superiority bias.
That's the one where we think we're better than other people.
more rational.
More rational, more ethical.
More ethical.
Or like we all have these rose-colored glasses on.
Exactly.
Like when we're judging ourselves.
We see our intentions as pure, our actions as justified. But we're quick to judge and criticize others.
So how do we even combat that?
It's hard.
It seems like it'd be so difficult to even recognize it.
It takes a lot of effort to step outside ourselves and really consider other viewpoints.
So like really see the world through a clear lens.
Yeah,
Without those rose-colored glasses.
exactly.
Okay, so we've got to recognize these
Yeah.
low-grade biases.
That's the first step. But we also have to understand those high-grade irrationality triggers.
Those are the external factors that really set our emotions off.
Exactly.
Completely hijack our rational thinking.
Yeah.
It's like our rational self
Yeah.
is trying to get our attention, but our emotions are in control.
Love that analogy. And one of the most powerful triggers is unresolved stuff from childhood.
Yeah, I mean, childhood experiences can have such a huge impact.
Huge impact on our adult lives, even if we're not really aware of it.
It's like the sight. Those early experiences create this blueprint that shapes everything. How we see the world, how we
Yeah.
interact.
Yeah.
Like
You
a-
develop a fear of abandonment
Yeah.
because you experienced neglect as a child.
Yeah.
Or you need constant validation because you grew up feeling inadequate.
Exactly.
And then these emotional patterns,
Yeah.
they get triggered by specific situations.
Yeah.
Or maybe even certain people.
Certain people.
Oh.
And you overreact. You behave irrationally.
And it's like these emotional scars from our past get reactivated. And we don't even realize it.
Exactly.
And we lash out at a partner for something small. But it triggers that underlying fear of rejection.
Exactly.
So we have to recognize these triggers in the moment.
It's important, but
Yeah.
also understand where they come from in our past.
We have to be our own emotional archaeologists.
Oh, exactly.
That sounds like really hard work
It is.
to face those shadows within ourselves,
Yeah.
to really look at those unresolved wounds.
It takes courage and self-awareness, but it can be so freeing when you understand why you react the way you do. You can start to heal and break those patterns.
So it's not about pretending those emotions aren't there.
Right. It's about understanding them,
Right.
acknowledging them, and then choosing how we want to respond.
Taking back control.
Exactly.
That leads us to...
That leads us to another trigger.
Yeah.
Sudden gains or losses.
Okay.
Like if you suddenly come into money, or you get a promotion, or you experience a devastating loss, our emotions can go haywire.
It's like a roller coaster. Right.
And we become overly optimistic or really pessimistic. It throws our rational brain off balance.
So we need some strategies to stay grounded, even when our emotions are going crazy.
We do.
Okay, and then what about rising pressure?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've all been there.
We all have.
The deadlines are looming, the expectations are piling up, more and more responsibility.
It's like the walls are closing in.
Yeah.
And your fight or flight response kicks in.
And you react without thinking.
You react impulsively.
Defensively, maybe even aggressively.
Maybe even aggressively.
And that's when we make those irrational decisions.
That's when you say something you regret.
Yeah.
You burn a bridge. You make a choice that sabotages your long-term goals.
So we've got to find ways to manage that stress.
Yeah.
Stay calm.
Stay calm.
Are there any tips?
The book talks about mindfulness, like meditation, or deep breathing exercises to help you regulate your emotions. It also says you should build a strong support system.
So the people in your life can remind you to take a step back, breathe, think things through.
Exactly.
Okay, what about those inflaming individuals?
Oh, yeah?
The charismatic figures, they just trigger these intense emotions.
Really do.
They're like emotional magnets.
Yeah.
You're either drawn to them or repelled by them. And it's hard to stay objective.
That's really hard.
Because they play on your insecurities.
Your insecurities. Your desire to belong.
A need for easy answers.
Yeah, they might use flattery. Or create an us versus the them situation.
Yeah.
To get their power. It's like they go right around our rational filters and straight to our emotions.
So we have to be aware of their tactics and keep a healthy distance.
Physically and emotionally.
Recognize that their charm doesn't equal wisdom or truth.
Exactly.
Like a building up immunity to their influence.
You've got to recognize those manipulation tactics.
Yeah.
And not engage.
Yeah, and then the group effect.
And the group effect.
It can be so powerful.
Yeah.
Especially when you combine it with those inflaming individuals. You're in a crowd. Your own rationality gets watered down by the emotions of everyone else.
And you become more suggestible.
Yeah.
More easily manipulated.
Even if the ideas are wrong.
Yeah. Even if the ideas are based on misinformation.
Yeah.
Or harmful ideologies.
And it's not just individuals.
It's not just individuals.
This can happen on a societal level. I mean, we've seen it.
We've seen it throughout history. Periods of reason and progress.
Right.
Followed by waves of superstition, intolerance, even violence.
Like a pendulum swing between reason and unreason.
And recognizing that pattern can help us be more vigilant.
Both in our own lives
Yeah.
and in the world around us. We can't just assume that progress is going to keep going in a straight line.
Exactly.
So it's not about becoming robots without emotions. It's about harnessing our emotions and developing our ability to think clearly and critically.
We need both. The power of the horse.
Yeah.
And the guidance of the rider.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So we've explored this dark side of irrationality, all the biases and triggers that can really lead us astray. But the book doesn't stop there.
It doesn't.
It offers some hope.
It gives us some strategies to cultivate a more rational mindset.
It does. They start by reminding us that rationality isn't like this magical thing that only some people have. It's a skill. It's a muscle you can develop through practice and conscious effort. They highlight all these people throughout history, like Pericles, Leonardo da Vinci, Warren Buffett, people who've really mastered rational thinking.
So it is possible.
It is to get really good at this.
Yeah.
Even though there are all these pitfalls, it's encouraging to know that some people have really done it.
They have.
Are there any like experiences or practices that can help us build this?
They talk about this idea of the maker's mindset.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed how when you're really into a project
Yeah.
you're passionate about,
Mm,
maybe you're writing, painting, building something,
yeah.
your thinking just becomes super clear.
Yeah, like all the distractions just disappear.
They do.
You're just totally present. Your mind is sharp. You
Yeah.
make decisions really efficiently and effectively.
That's the maker's mindset. Your rational self is in control. And your emotions, while they're still there, they take a back seat.
So the book's saying we can tap into that.
They argue that we can. More consistent.
Consistently
Yeah.
even, when we're not. Doing those creative activities.
Yeah.
That's cool. It makes sense when you think about it. When you're really engaged in something that's meaningful, you're not so distracted by all those little emotional things.
The book lays out a 3-step process
Okay.
for cultivating this maker's mindset.
All right, I'm ready.
First step, self-knowledge.
Okay.
You got to know your own patterns, your weaknesses, your
Yeah.
triggers, those biases we talked about.
So it's like you're becoming a detective
Exactly.
of your own mind, uncovering all those things that are happening
Yeah.
below the surface.
You've got to be brutally honest
Brutally honest.
with yourself.
Yeah.
When you feel that anger, resentment, anxiety, really trace it back
Okay.
to where it's coming from. Is it really about this situation? Or is it something from your past coming back up?
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Exactly.
It can be tough
It's uncomfortable.
to look at that stuff, but you have
You do.
to break free from it.
Step 2, increase your reaction time.
Okay.
Don't just react right away.
Yeah.
In the heat of the moment. Hit the pause button.
Yeah, that pause is so powerful.
It is.
Just take a few deep breaths,
Yeah.
walk away, even if it's just for a minute or two. Give your rational mind a chance to catch up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Step 3, accept people as facts.
That sounds a little counterintuitive.
It does.
Can you explain that?
Think about how we try to change people. We want them to be how we want them to be. Meet our expectations. And it just creates frustration, resentment,
Yeah.
all this emotional turmoil.
I think we're trying to fit square pegs in round holes and then getting mad when it doesn't work.
So accepting people as facts means you observe them, you understand them, but you don't judge them. You try to control them. You realize that they're on their own journey,
Okay.
shaped by their own experience.
It's a shift from control to understanding.
So understanding and acceptance.
Yeah. That sounds really liberating.
It is. It doesn't mean you condone bad behavior
Hmm.
or give up on boundaries. It just means you approach things with less judgment and more curiosity,
Okay.
which makes things more harmonious.
So you're saying we can't control other people.
We can't.
We can only control our reactions to them.
Exactly.
And that goes back to self-knowledge.
It does. Knowing our triggers
Yeah,
and how to manage our emotions.
exactly. Cultivating rationality is about finding that balance
That optimal balance.
between thinking and feeling.
We're not trying to become emotionless robots.
Right. We need our emotions.
Yeah.
We're not denying them. We're integrating them with our rational minds.
It's the rider and the horse.
Yeah.
You need both. The power of the horse, but also the direction
Right.
of the rider.
And the book also says this isn't about deprivation.
It's not. It actually leads to more fulfillment,
Yeah.
more meaning,
So you're not giving up on pleasure and joy. It's about finding
and
it.
deeper kind of happiness,
Yeah.
one that's based on self-awareness, clear thinking,
Yeah.
meaningful action.
Yeah. When you make choices
Mm.
that are in line with your values
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of being driven
Yeah.
by those fleeting impulses
Yeah.
or unconscious biases, your life feels more authentic,
More authentic.
more purposeful.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into irrationality, the main takeaway is that we can fight back
We're not
against these forces we all have, that rational self inside us, just waiting to be cultivated.
It takes work.
It does.
And you have to challenge yourself, confront your biases, practice those techniques for increasing your reaction time. Choose to be mindful,
Okay.
but it's worth it.
Yeah.
You get more self-control, better decision-making, a deeper sense of fulfillment.
And maybe a world with a little less chaos, a little more wisdom.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So here's a thought for you. As you go about your day, what decision have you made recently that might have been influenced by irrational factors? Think about those hidden forces in your own life and how you can start using rationality to create a better path for yourself, a more fulfilling and meaningful one. Until next time, keep diving deep.
It does.
It feels overwhelming when you think about all the ways that our thinking can get hijacked, but the book offers some potential treatments. Like, what kind of tools do they give us to tame this wild horse of emotions?
Well, they start off by reminding us that rationality, it's not it. It's a mystical gift that only certain people get. It's a skill.
Okay.
It's something you can develop if you work at it
Okay.
consciously. They highlight all these figures
Okay.
from history.
Okay.
You've got
Yeah.
Pericles, Leonardo da Vinci, Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
people who've really cultivated amazing levels of rationality.
So it's really encouraging to see that it can be done, that there are people out there who've mastered this art of rational thinking.
Yeah.
Are there any specific practices or experiences that can help us develop this rationality muscle?
Well, they have this interesting idea. They call it the maker's mindset.
Oh.
Have you ever noticed how when you're working on something that you're really passionate about, been writing, painting, building something, your thinking becomes super focused.
It's like everything else just fades away. You're just there in the moment.
You're present. Your mind is sharp. You can make good decisions.
Yes. And quickly, efficiently,
Yeah.
effectively.
That's the maker's mindset.
Yeah.
It's a state where your rational self is in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotions are still there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not running the show.
Okay, so the book is saying we can tap into this more consistently.
They say we can.
Even when we're not in the middle of one of those creative endeavors.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. It makes sense when you're really into something.
Yeah.
That's meaningful. Those little emotional distractions don't have so much power.
So how do we get this
Yeah.
maker's mindset
Yeah.
in our everyday lives when we're just bombarded
Yeah.
with decisions
Yeah.
and challenges
Yeah.
that don't always feel super captivating? They give us a 3-step process.
Okay, I like it.
First step, self-knowledge.
Okay.
You got to know yourself, your weaknesses, your triggers, all those biases.
So it's about becoming a detective of your own mind.
Right.
Uncovering those hidden patterns, those tendencies that are operating below the surface.
You got to be honest.
You got to be honest.
Brutally honest with yourself.
When you feel that anger,
Yeah.
that resentment, that anxiety, really trace it back.
To where it came from.
Yeah.
Is it really about what's happening now? Or is it something from your past coming back to haunt you?
It's like we talked about.
Yeah.
Peeling back the layers of the onion.
Peeling back those layers.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable, but it's
necessary.
to face those shadows, right?
You got to do it.
To break free.
All right, second step. Increase your reaction time.
Okay.
Don't just react.
Yeah.
Right away. In the heat of the moment, hit that pause button.
That pause
Yeah.
can be so powerful. Just a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
Step away from the situation, even if it's just for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Give your rational mind a chance to catch up.
Exactly.
Right, step 3.
Step 3, accept people as facts.
That sounds a little
It does.
counterintuitive. Can you break that down for me?
Think about how we're always trying to change people. We want them to be how we want them to be, live up to our expectations. And it creates so much frustration,
Yes.
so much resentment,
Yeah.
all this emotional turmoil.
It's like we're trying to fit square pegs into round holes.
Exactly.
And then we get mad when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you're saying,
Accepting people as facts
yeah.
means you observe them, you understand them, but you don't judge them. You don't try to control them. You realize they're on their own path,
Okay.
shaped by their own experiences.
So it's a shift
Yeah.
from trying to control to trying to understand.
To understanding and acceptance.
Yeah,
That actually does sound really liberating.
it is. But it doesn't mean you're condoning bad behavior or that you're not setting boundaries.
Okay.
It means you're approaching things with less judgment and more curiosity.
Which leads to more harmony.
More harmony.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're saying we can't control other people. We
Like
can't.
what?
We can only control our reactions to them. You got it.
And that goes back to that self-knowledge piece, understanding our triggers and how to manage our emotions.
Oh, exactly.
So really cultivating rationality is about finding that
That optimal balance.
sweet spot
Right.
between thinking
Yeah.
and feeling.
It's not about becoming some emotionless robot.
Right, because we need our emotions.
You need them.
It's about bringing them together with our rational mind.
It's the rider and the horse.
Uh-huh.
You need both.
We need the power of the horse, but the guidance of the rider.
That's it.
I like that.
And the book says this isn't about deprivation. It leads to greater fulfillment, more meaning.
So you're not giving up pleasure and joy. You're finding a deeper kind of happiness, one that's based on self-awareness, clear thinking, meaningful action, and when you decisions that align with your values instead of those fleeting impulses or unconscious biases. Your life feels more authentic.
More authentic. More purposeful.
More purpose. Yeah.
So it sounds like wrapping up this deep dive into irrationality. The big takeaway is we're not helpless against these forces. We all have that inner rational self just waiting to be developed.
It takes work.
It does.
You got to challenge yourself. Face your biases. Practice the techniques for increasing your reaction time. And choose to be more mindful.
But it's worth it.
It is.
For that greater self-control, better decision-making, a deeper sense of fulfillment, and maybe a world with a little less chaos, a little more wisdom.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So here's a thought for you. As you go about your day, what decision have you made recently that might have been influenced by those irrational factors? Think about those hitting forces that are at play in your life and how you can start using rationality to create a better path for yourself, a more fulfilling and meaningful one. Until next time, keep diving deep